Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. But how about our boy Urban Meyer? Remember him? Heard of him? 3 national championships, 2 at Florida, 1 at Ohio State, bunch of wins. Gonna be a Hall of Famer if he's not already. Yeah, Adam Schefter. You may have heard of Adam Schefter as well, ESPN NFL reporter. He reported on Sunday that there are at least 2 NFL teams that have reached out to Urban Meyer and shown interest in Urban Meyer being their head coach going forward in the NFL. So this is a great topic, and it gives us something to talk about, and it's fun. And it's exciting, so let's get into it because it is both, one, I think it's insanely compelling, and 2, I think it's both like kind of shocking, but kind of not shocking at the same time. And so let's kind of start with the shocking element of it, right? Because Urban Meyer's been out of football for 2 years, and I talked about a lot of this when his name first surfaced to Texas. I don't know Urban Meyer personally. I do know a few people that do know him. I know a few people, frankly, at Fox that work with him on a day-in, day-out basis, and I don't think, to be clear, I don't think he's walking around the studio on Saturday tipping his hand as to what he wants his future to hold. But as I talked about with the Texas stuff, I could really see a scenario where Urban Meyer never coaches football again. So in one way, the idea that both there's NFL interest and that he may be interested is shocking. The guy is not young anymore. He's 57. Now, that's by no means old, which we'll get into in a minute, but he's not young anymore. And I really do wonder if he wants to be like one part of the grind. Like he is a different man now than he was when he got to Florida, 15 or so years ago. As I said on the show a few weeks ago, he is now a grandfather. He's a young grandfather, just 57 years old, but he's a grandfather. His son-in-law and his daughter live in Columbus. His son-in-law coaches at Ohio State right now. So he gets to be around his daughter, his son-in-law, his grandkids all the time. His son, his youngest child, is playing football at Cincinnati. So he can drive up there and see him every once in a while. And I don't know how many games he gets to see because he's at Fox and all that stuff. But the point is he gets to be around his family. He works at Ohio State. He owns a bar in Ohio. And so if you're telling me that he's just kind of in that like old dude retired life, like I could kind of see that. 57 isn't old. I'm not saying it's old. We got a lot of 57-plus-year-olds listening to this show. But when you've made $20 million, you've made more money than you can ever spend. Fox is paying you well to essentially work 1 day a week. You can stay around the game. You're around the game because the whole staff at Ohio State was essentially your hand-picked guys, be it Ryan Day, be it, the strength and conditioning coach Mickey Mariotti. When you can be around the sport the way that he is, I don't know that he's in a rush to get back. I would also say what I told you with the Texas stuff. I was told by somebody that knows him well, not Zach Smith, by the way, but somebody that knows him well, that his wife has basically told him, look, you want to get back into coaching, that's fine. You're just going to do it as a bachelor. I am not going through this again. I went through it at Bowling Green. I went through it at Utah. I went through it at Florida, and I went through it at Ohio State. I am not doing it again. We're getting, to the old quote, I'm getting too old for this stuff. And that she has basically told him, I don't want you coaching anymore. Now, maybe it's a little bit different in the NFL. The NFL, you get a little bit more downtime in the offseason. You're not recruiting. You're not hosting recruits. Maybe she would be open to it. But those are the reasons that I could see Urban Meyer not really being interested. But I will tell you, I could also see him being very interested. First of all, I thought it was really interesting. I heard Colin Cowherd, and I know Colin a little bit, but not well enough to pick his brain about this stuff. But I heard Colin Cowherd on his show talking about NFL job openings, and Colin's way more plugged in the NFL than I am. And he kind of mentioned, I forget if it was the Jets or the Bears or whomever that he thinks is going to have an opening, saying, look, well, now because of this, you're not getting Urban Meyer. You're not getting an Urban Meyer type. You're not getting this guy. You're not getting that guy. And I said to myself, I haven't really heard anybody else talk about Urban Meyer as an NFL head coach, and that feels like a weird name to drop unless you know something that other people don't know. And so you got to remember, Urban Meyer, again, works at Fox, goes on with Colin every week. And so when Colin dropped Urban Meyer's name in NFL circles, I was kind of like, that doesn't really make sense unless you truly do believe that there is a chance that Urban Meyer is interested in being an NFL head coach. So that was the first thing that piqued my interest. But the more that I thought about it, the more I could see the scenario where Urban Meyer is interested. First of all, I said it a minute ago. He's 57 years old. To you guys in your 20s and you girls in your 20s, that sounds really, really, really old. But it's also kind of young. Nick Saban is 69 years old right now. He's 12 years older than Urban Meyer is right now. Nick Saban didn't even get to Alabama until he was 56, a year younger than what Urban Meyer is right now. So the idea of starting over at 57 years old, it doesn't sound crazy. Plus, we know how the NFL works. Unless your name is Bill Belichick, you're not going to be in a place for 15 or 20 years. You do it for, 4 to 6 to 7 years, and you get the heck out. And you make a lot of money in the process, too, which never hurts. And I could see Urban Meyer just being a guy like, dude, I'm 57. Yes, I'm a grandfather. But, man, I still got a lot of fire inside of me. I'm ready to go do something. I'm ready to get off the couch. I don't want to be a stupid TV analyst anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. To a guy like me, being a TV analyst sounds awesome. To a guy like him, he wants to be in that fire. He wants to be competing. He wants to be competing potentially at the highest level. And he's 57. 57 and 67 is a lot different. 57 is, you're talking about 30 years on the couch on the sidelines doing nothing. And I don't know if Urban Meyer wants that. Does he want to be Lee Corso, where 99% of America doesn't even remember Lee Corso being a head coach anymore? At some point, Lee Corso coached. Nobody realizes that because it's been so long. Does he really want to be that guy? I think, too, according to Adam Schefter's report, there's at least 2 teams interested, but it sounds like one of them is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got to tell you, the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday officially clinched the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Even if they win next week and everybody else loses, they are still going to get the number 1 pick in the draft. And when you have the chance to draft Trevor Lawrence, I'm just telling you point blank, end of story. That is a great NFL job, right? Everyone talks about in college, well, Ohio State's a great job, and Alabama's a great job, and USC and Texas, these are great jobs. You know what makes a great job in the NFL? Do you have the quarterback or not? The Houston Texans are an appealing job in the NFL because they got Deshaun Watson. You know who's not an appealing job? The Detroit Lions, because Matt Stafford's like 33 and he's probably got 1 or 2 years left. Well, you go to Jacksonville and you can draft Trevor Lawrence? I mean, you got a chance to do something real special there. And he could do it for a long time. I know I just said nobody stays in the NFL for more than 4 or 5 years. You could work 10 years if you draft Trevor Lawrence and you get the pieces around him right, and the pieces don't even have to be that good if you got Trevor Lawrence. Aaron Rodgers' pieces aren't that good. He wins the division every year. And so when I look at this situation, I just think it's so fascinating. And I do think there are other variables that are positives and negatives. I mean, I think, again, uprooting his family is a negative, but I think, the chance to coach at the highest level is a positive. I do think that potentially giving up some control in player personnel, not being able to make your own draft selections, or at the very least not being able to sign your own free agents, not having final say on every person that comes into your organization, I could see that being a negative. But what I will say is it's a very interesting topic, made that much more interesting on Sunday with the Jaguars getting the number 1 overall pick. And I'll just tell you, I'm fascinated because I do think Urban Meyer as an NFL head coach is really, really, really interesting to me.